Whales actually have specific names for one another. Octopuses can solve complex mazes. So, where is the great underwater dolphin empire? Why are you and I connecting through a glowing screen right now, while they are still just swimming around eating raw fish? Here's the thing. Nature is full of brilliant minds and complex social networks. But if you want to dominate a planet, intelligence alone just isn't enough. Evolution isn't some ladder climbing toward perfection. It's actually a series of ruthless survival filters. Today, we are going to break down exactly how nature used these filters to lock out other smart species. And we'll look at how a naked, vulnerable creature like our ancestors managed to slip through every single one of those bottlenecks, rising up to completely rewire the world. The environment filter, the handcuffed geniuses. Let's start with the biggest brains on Earth. Our oceans are actually hiding some serious contenders for world domination. Orcas and dolphins. They are incredibly smart. They have complex communication systems. Different pods even have their own distinct dialects, and they pass down cultural knowledge across generations, like teaching each other how to flip a great white shark upside down for an easy kill. But if they're so smart, why haven't they built underwater cities? The first reason comes down to biology. To build tools, it needs a body part that can actually manipulate objects. A dolphin's fins are perfectly evolved for slicing through water at top speed. But they are completely useless for holding a hammer or a carving stone. Their intellect is trapped inside a body that just wasn't designed to shape the physical world. But let's play along. Imagine that, by some evolutionary miracle, a dolphin suddenly grew human-like hands. Could they start building machines? The answer is still no, because they would hit an absolute roadblock: water. The ocean deprives them of the single greatest invention in history, the building block of all civilization. Fire. No fire means no metallurgy, no bronze, no iron, no steam engines, and definitely no computers. The ocean is a perfect survival paradise with an endless buffet of food. But that same perfection is a technological prison. The aquatic environment is the ultimate first filter. It permanently blocks these species from ever reaching the civilization stage, locking them in the hunter-gatherer era forever. The lifespan and society filter. The great knowledge reset. So, if the dolphin's main problem is a lack of hands, let's look at some of the best tool wielders in the animal kingdom. Heading back to the ocean, let me introduce you to a true master, the octopus. They pack incredibly smart brains and 8 highly versatile tentacles. You've probably heard the stories. They can unscrew a jar from the inside. They use coconut shells as body armor. They even pull off spectacular aquarium prison breaks. They have both the brains and the perfect set of hands. Or, if you want a land-based example, look no further than our neighborhood trash pandas. Raccoons. Their hands are almost creepily human-like. Raccoons are dexterous enough to pry open windows, pick locks, and undo latches to break into your house in the middle of the night. Both octopuses and raccoons have the perfect combo of problem-solving skills and physical dexterity. So why haven't they started crafting tools and kicked off their own Stone Age? The evolutionary filter that stops them dead in their tracks comes down to 2 things: lifespan and social structure. For the octopus, their ultimate tragedy is time. Most of them only live for about 1 to 2 years, and they follow a suicidal reproductive strategy. Almost immediately after her eggs hatch, the mother dies. This means octopuses live entirely solitary lives. They don't get a childhood. There are no parents around to raise or protect them. Think about it like this. Let's say a genius octopus invents a brand new revolutionary hunting technique. That stroke of genius is basically useless. It just doesn't live long enough to use it. And worse, there's no community around to pass that knowledge on to. The moment is that knowledge dies with it. The next generation of octopuses is born, and they have to figure everything out from absolute scratch. Raccoons face a very similar problem. They might have the hands, but they lack a tight-knit social structure. For the most part, raccoons are solitary survivors. They aren't hardwired to build systems that preserve knowledge or share information as a group. Here's the harsh truth. To build a civilization, individual intelligence just isn't enough. You need cultural accumulation. You and I didn't personally invent the wheel, the airplane, or the language. We are standing on the shoulders of giants. We inherited all this knowledge, stacked up over thousands of generations. To pull that off, a species needs a lifespan long enough to teach its kids, and it needs a society cohesive enough to share that information. Without those 2 things, isolation and short lifespans, force the octopus and the raccoon into a tragic loop. Their progress is just constantly hitting the reset button back to 0 with every single generation. The anatomy filter. Our cousins trapped in the comfort zone. So if the ocean lacks fire and the octopus lacks time, what exactly are we looking for? We need a land-dwelling creature, something with a long lifespan, a complex society, and a highly dexterous set of hands. And we really don't have to look far. The chimpanzee. They share 98% of their DNA with you and me. Chimps live in tight-knit troops. They navigate complex political hierarchies. They can live up to 50 years. And they have opposable thumbs, just like us. They even actively use tools. You've probably seen footage of them smashing open hard nuts with rocks, or stripping leaves off twigs to fish for termites. They have almost every fundamental building block. So why haven't chimps kickstarted their own Bronze Age? Sure, brain structure and the lack of complex language are massive hurdles, but if we just look at pure physical anatomy, their fatal bottleneck comes down to one specific thing: how they move. Chimpanzees are knuckle walkers. To get around, they have to use all four limbs just to support their own body weight. Think about it. You can't trek across a forest, wade through streams, and carry a bunch of tools, weapons, or babies if your hands are constantly glued to the dirt. Chimps can basically only use tools when they are sitting perfectly still. On top of that, the jungle itself just doesn't push them to change. The forest already provides an all-you-can-eat buffet, plenty of shade, and safe shelters high up in the tree canopy. Chimps have adapted perfectly. They don't need to invent any new technology because they are completely insulated inside an evolutionary comfort zone. And that right there is the historical dividing line. Our ancestors simply didn't have that luxury. Millions of years ago in Africa, severe climate shifts caused the dense jungles to shrink. Our ancestors were pushed out of the safety of the trees. They were forced into a vast, unforgiving new environment, the open savanna. And let's face facts, out there, we were absolutely pathetic. We didn't have the blistering speed of a cheetah. We didn't have the claws of a lion or the biological body armor of a rhino. We were slow, we were completely naked, and we had incredibly weak stomachs. Purely biologically speaking, early humans were prey. We were scraping the absolute bottom of the food chain. But that exact desperation triggered the greatest survival gamble in history. To peer over the tall grass and spot predators from a distance, our ancestors stood up. Shifting to bipedalism, walking on two legs, was a massive evolutionary risk. But it came with a priceless payoff. It completely freed our hands. Because we lacked razor-sharp teeth or deadly claws, those newly freed hands had to adapt. They learned to pick up rocks and sharpen sticks, just to defend themselves. You see, tools weren't invented because we had some grand ambition to conquer the world. They were invented simply because we didn't want to get eaten. Then came the food problem. Our digestive systems were way too weak to process raw meat and tough roots, so we had to figure out how to tame fire. Cooking our food was a total game changer. It unlocked a massive amount of calories. And all that surplus energy was pumped directly into the most demanding, energy-hungry engine in our bodies, the brain. Armed with weapons, fueled by rapidly expanding brains, and developing complex language to cooperate, everything shifted. From a fragile, constantly fleeing prey, we managed to slip through the narrowest evolutionary bottleneck of all, rising up to become the most dangerous creatures on the planet. Looking back at this entire journey, you are left with a truth that completely shatters the human ego. Technology doesn't actually prove that we are superior to the rest of the natural world. Technology, at its core, is just an evolutionary overcompensation. Evolution didn't choose us because we were inherently better. It simply handed every species a unique survival kit to adapt to their specific world. A cheetah gets blistering speed. An octopus gets master-level camouflage. An eagle gets telescopic vision. As for us, a bunch of weak, fragile, hairless apes, the only claws nature ever gave us was the ability to invent. But here's the thing about nature, it always keeps a wild card up its sleeve. So as we wrap this up, I can't help but wonder, if humanity suddenly vanishes, who is next in line? What creature is out there right now waiting to slip through those filters and claim the Earth? If you enjoyed this deep dive, leaving a like or hitting subscribe really helps the channel grow. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.